Okay, we're going to start the unit on microeconomics, and today we're going to have a lesson specifically on demand. So you're going to need your study guide, which is going to look something like this on paper. Now, depending on what year this is, you may have taken the macroeconomics unit already, or you may be having a macroeconomics unit next unit, but it's helpful to discuss micro and macro together to get a sense of what the word really means. So macroeconomics is the study of a national economy as a whole. And we've looked at macroeconomics a little bit when we studied the production possibilities frontier. So this is the first thing you want to put in your study guide: study of a country's production possibilities frontier, which is something we've already done. You could also, the study of the business cycle of a country, that would go in this blank. The study of a country's fiscal policy. Also the study of GDP, which we will do, or which is done during the unit of macroeconomics. But this unit is on microeconomics. And so what do you think that might mean? Microeconomics is the study of economics at an individual, group, or company level. For example, the study of the Levi Corporation, or the study of the decision-making of a single customer for jeans. You should be putting that here in your study guide. The study of a single market, such as the market for jeans. These are some examples of the study of microeconomics. I'm sorry, there's some noise in the background. My cats are fighting and I can't seem to get them to stop. I apologize for the distraction. So, next we need to be talking about what do we actually mean by the word market. If we're going to be studying different markets, we need to know what the word literally means from the perspective of an economist. A market is a medium that allows buyers and sellers of a specific good or service to interact in order to make an exchange. So put that in your study guide. My next question to you is, why does it say medium? Why doesn't it just say a place where buyers and sellers exchange goods and services? What are some other mediums other than a brick and mortar store through which buyers and sellers can make exchanges? And during the whole COVID crisis, this became a lot more apparent and a lot more popular. So, for example, the internet is a very popular medium of exchange that we use now for buyers and sellers to come together and make exchanges. Whereas before, most of us would only go to some sort of physical place in order to buy or sell things. So next we come to this vocabulary word demand, which is what we're going to be studying for the next week. And demand means the quantity of a good or service that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices. Again, you'll want to put that here in your study guide. Now, we've already seen an illustration in demand when we did the activity with the soda, finding out what people in the class were willing and able to purchase at various prices. Now, how much money in the scenario did you have in your pocket? In the scenario, you had $3 in your pocket, which meant if you wanted $5 worth of soda, that would not, from an economist's point of view, constitute demand. You may have been willing to buy $5 worth of soda, but you simply were not able to buy $5 worth of soda. So that's just a desire. That is not demand. Demand is you have the desire and you have the ability. Here's another example. Would you like a 2019 BMW Z4? We're going to imagine for the moment that you answered yes, whether you did or not. So would your desire for this car be considered part of the demand for the 2019 BMW Z4? Well, do you have, let's say, 20% in cash of 50,000 bucks? So do you have, say, $10,000 in your personal checking account, and do you have the credit history that would warrant a BMW lender to expect that you would be able to make payments on this car after you've put the $10,000 down on the car in the first place. If you think the answer to those questions are no, then your desire for this Beamer, or your pretend desire for this Beamer, would not constitute demand for the car. So again, demand of a good or service that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices. We want to keep in mind demand has to do with various prices. Maybe even highlight that, because then we're going to look at quantity demanded, which is the quantity of a good or service that consumers are willing and able to purchase at one specific price. That's quantity demanded. And a lot of times students are going to mess this up on the test because they can't tell the difference between what we mean when we say the word demand and what we mean when we say the word quantity demanded. So get that into your study guide. Quantity demanded is what is desired at desired and what people are able to buy at one specific price. Okay, so the law of demand, if you take a look at the soda demand schedule that was developed with your class, you see that as the prices go up, what happens to the quantity demanded at each price point. As price goes up, the quantity consumers are willing and able to buy goes down. Similarly, as the price goes down, the quantity consumers are willing and able to buy goes up. So you need to put that law of demand into your study guide. This is an inverse relationship, and you'll want to learn that vocabulary word. This relationship between price and quantity demanded in the law of demand is called an inverse relationship. As one goes up, the other goes down. As one goes down, the other goes up. So get that in your study guide. The law of demand states that price and quantity demanded of any good and service are inversely related to each other, ceteris paribus. Now, ceteris paribus will be on the test. We don't put too much Latin on the test, but this happens to be a place where we will. Ceteris paribus is Latin for all things remaining constant. In other words, all other factors that affect quantity demanded are assumed to remain unchanged, whether they actually remain unchanged or not. So we're saying as prices go up, quantity demanded goes down. As price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. That is imagining that everything else in the world just is frozen and no changes are made. The weather doesn't change. The tastes of the public don't change. We're pretending for a moment that those things aren't changing. And that is how we work with the law of demand. Nevertheless, that never happens. It's more of a theoretical state of mind. So we come to the vocabulary words demand schedule versus demand curve. You've already written a demand schedule for soda when we did that exercise at the beginning of class. Demand schedule is a list of quantities of a good or service that would be purchased at various prices. Now, demand curve is a graphical representation of the quantities of it. It's basically the demand schedule put onto a graph. Okay, so a demand schedule is a table, demand curve is a graph. Go ahead and get that these two definitions for demand schedule and demand curve in your study guide. So then, is this, let's see here, this one right here. Take a look at this. Is this a demand schedule or a demand curve? And this one. Is this a demand schedule or demand curve? Okay. And as you can see, we can see the law of demand. The demand curve is always going to be, from left to right, going to be going down, because as the prices go up, quantity demanded goes down, and we can see that in the visual representation of the curve. So now we're going to be actually graphing the curve for your soda, your soda exercise, but I just want to make sure you understand how to do this. Price is always on the y-axis, and quantity is always on the x-axis. So here we have a demand schedule, and so we put A, here's A, 50 cents. At 50 cents we have 9, and so that's how it's, the quantity is here and the price is here. $4, only 2. Quantity is only 2. Quantity demanded is only 2. So that's how you would graph your demand curve. Now sometimes there's some strange outliers, but you can get a general sense of the direction the curve should be drawn. Or you can just, connect the dots. So when graphing demand, as I said, price, so you go ahead and get your soda demand schedule and graph that out. Price is recorded on the vertical axis, so you're going to put a P over here for price, and then you're going to put a Q down here for quantity, and you're going to put the prices as we did in class, 50 cents, $1, $1.50, etc. on your y-axis, going up, starting from 0 down here, going up, and then the quantity 0 to whatever your maximum was in your class activity, and then quantity of sodas. Graph the demand curve for the cola that you chose based on the demand schedule developed together. Now, then you need to label the curve D1, D with a subscript 1. That's how you will label. We're going to be doing a lot of graphing this unit, and the best place to draw, or the best place to put the D1 is at the end. Let's say you draw your curve like this. Best place to put it to keep it out of the way is down here at the end of the curve, just to keep it out of the way. Okay. A review. Due to the law of demand, which direction will the demand curve always be sloping? From left to right? From left to right, which way is it going to be sloping? Now, graphing quantity demanded. At the end of this unit, you will be taking a graphing final that requires rather specific notation in order to communicate your understanding of market trends. To graph quantity demanded of a good or service at a particular price, draw dotted lines to indicate the intersect points between specific price and quantity demanded. Then label the price in the left margin as P1, and and label the quantity demanded in the bottom margin as QD1. Please don't be smarter than me. Do as instructed. It will make your life better as we go through this unit. I know some of you just like to do things your way, so when I say put QD1 here, you might choose to put QD1 here. Believe me, I'm showing you the way to do it because it will make it easier for you. So for example, let's say $30 is the price and the quantity demanded for $30 is 40. Remember, P is on the vertical, Q is on the horizontal. So you would draw a vertical line from the amount of money, which was $30, a dotted line, and a vertical dotted line for the quantity demanded, which was 40, and they intersect here, so that's where your point would be. And you label this P1 because it's your first price that you've graphed, and you would label this one QD1, quantity demanded 1, because it's the first quantity that you have graphed. And that's how you graph quantity demanded. Practice on your cola demand schedule. Identify on your graph, using appropriate notation, the quantity demanded for $1.50 price of cola. Go ahead and use this type of notation on your cola graph, which is at the beginning of your lesson today. Put the specific price of $1.50. Where does that line up with quantity demanded? Notate it this way. Now, to graph a price change, draw dotted lines from the new price and from the new quantity demanded, and label them in the margins as P2 and QD2. So let's say now we're talking about the price has changed to $20, which makes quantity demanded shift to 60 units. You would show that in this way. You do a horizontal line from the price. You label that horizontal line P2, and you would draw a horizontal line, or excuse me, a vertical line from the quantity demanded, which is 60, to where it intersects with the price. Draw a dot and label that QD, quantity demanded 2. And this is how you would show a price change. So we can see the price went down because we went from this price to this price, and that's how the small numbers help. And we see that due to the price going down, we see that quantity demanded went up, increased, just as this law of demand indicates it would. Please note, it is changes in price that influence quantity demanded, not the other way around. A change in quantity demanded does not necessarily incur a change in price. Although a change in demand does, but that's a whole different conversation. Reading price and quantity demanded changes. So, what has happened to price here? What has happened to quantity demanded here? What has happened to price here? What has happened to quantity demanded here? Now you have an opportunity to practice these new skills in the Graphing Quantity Demanded worksheet that has been provided for you.